Good morning. Good morning. Friday morning, April, I said. August 2nd. It's clearly Friday, as you can tell. August 2nd, we're kicking things off for your guys' day. Today, I'm super stoked. Back in the saddle. Haven't been on the daily since Monday. Stepped out of town for a couple days. Got away with the wife. So Jay and Liv filled in, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be invited back after I saw how Jay did, and Liv's always amazing, but they held it down. Happy to be back. Happy to be back talking everything going on in the world of sports today, this week. And guys, we've been leaning heavy on Olympics because there's been some amazing Olympic events, moments happening throughout the week. But I'm excited. As I was going through everything yesterday, last night, putting this show together, there's a lot going on. We're heating up, folks. We knew it. We talked about it here on this show. We said we got to get to the start of the Olympics, and then things are really going to start to get rolling here in the world of sports. And that's exactly what's happened. A lot of news coming out of NFL training camps this week. We got injuries to key players, quarterbacks specifically. We're going to get into that. Fights breaking out in Pittsburgh at camp. And yes, I said fights, not just one fight, multiple fights breaking out. Former Bronco Colorado native getting a new deal. Some controversy in the world of hockey, and specifically the world of hockey media. Utah, big couple of weeks for them, big couple of months for state of Utah. City of Salt Lake City, after being awarded an NHL team, they were awarded the Olympics just a week ago, and yesterday they announced some big plans in the future as far as what they're doing facility-wise for hockey and other events coming to Utah in 2034. We're going to talk about a breakthrough streaming service that's just being announced and definitely has my interest. And then we will get you guys a quick update on what's happening in the Olympics as Simone Biles continues to make history and break records. But starting at the top, we're heading on over. I almost said San Diego. LA, the Chargers, and Justin Herbert sidelined 2 weeks at least with plantar fasciitis. Now, plantar fasciitis isn't necessarily an injury that you get from one particular thing. It's a, I don't necessarily know if I want to say condition. It's an injury to your foot that causes some pain right in the ball of your foot or the arch of your foot. There's people who will get to the point where they need surgery to kind of, break that tendon, that muscle that's in there so that it can begin to heal. There's people who will just deal with it. Justin Herbert's going to be put in a walking boot for 2 weeks, and then they're going to put him on a return to play protocol from there through the regular season. The Chargers are right now saying the expectation is that Herbert will be ready to go for the start of the regular season. That's the expectation. That's under the assumption that this doesn't get worse. He doesn't require surgery. This is an interesting injury. I spoke to a few folks last night, just as I was putting this together. Reached out to a couple current athletes, a couple former athletes, just to get the sense for do you know anyone that's played through this? Because I know a few people who have this. Now, I want to make sure I'm pointing out, I don't know any pro athletes or NFL quarterbacks that have plantar. And pretty much unanimously, the response I got was like, look, if this is anything more than 2 weeks in a boot and then, ramp back up and they're just kind of playing it extra safe with training camp, I would be shocked. That's obviously, I'm paraphrasing down several responses that I got, but that was essentially what was being told to me. Like, this is something that, especially with the way that they can help with pain management at the NFL level, there's zero reason why Justin Herbert should miss. Again, I mean, a lot of the responses I was getting were he shouldn't be missing any time, but if he's going to miss, preseason, training camp, okay, you can get on board with that, but it should not be anything beyond that. The Chargers are an interesting team. Justin Herbert hit the scene a few years ago and really kind of was a reason for optimism in LA. And there were a lot of folks who were saying, well, now you've got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you got Justin Herbert, who's going to kind of be the next great thing here in this division. And it's going to be Mahomes and Herbert at the top going back and forth. Well, the Chargers just have never really gotten there. They've never really gotten to the level of being competitive. In fact, the opposite. They've spent most of Herbert's time in the bottom half of the division, nowhere near where the Chiefs are. You're in a situation where the AFC West is wide open 2, 3, and 4. It's going to be the Chiefs at the top. So saying it's wide open is maybe a little bit silly, but beyond that, you've got the Raiders who don't have great expectations this year. You've got the Broncos who, if you look at what Vegas is saying or what sites like Pro Football Focus are saying, have maybe the worst roster in the NFL, have maybe the worst chance of being anything more than a 5-win team. The division is vulnerable. The Chargers have what I think everyone would say as of right now, August 2nd. We're hearing outstanding things out of Broncos camp about Bo Nix, so we'll see how this conversation changes. But as of right now, Justin Herbert is widely considered to be the second best quarterback in the AFC West. I don't even think it's considered. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's the second best quarterback in the AFC West. And he has got a chance to be something really special in the NFL. The Chargers have any hope of pushing for the playoffs this year. They need a fully healthy Justin Herbert. 3,134 yards last year, 20 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions last year for Herbert. Again, he has a chance to be a difference maker for them, and he's got a chance to help push them towards the playoffs in a division where you, on paper, are going up against a couple of weaker opponents multiple times a year. Yes, you've got to deal with the Chiefs, but again, Justin Herbert is a big part of whatever kind of success the Chargers do or do not have. So this is one that they will be monitoring very closely to get him back into the lineup as quickly as possible. We'll be keeping an eye on it here as well to see how he progresses through these next couple of weeks. Sticking with the NFL and sticking with quarterbacks that have recently played in the AFC West, particularly the Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Getting a little heated at training camp this week. 2 separate fights breaking out on the field at different times on the same day. Multiple fights breaking out. Now, the first one that broke out, let's see here if we can get this one cued right there. The original reports, sorry, Jay, I jumped the gun on you there. I realized I wanted one in particular. The original, I shouldn't say reports. When this tweet was posted, a page grabbed it and said that this was a fight that broke out between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, 2 quarterbacks. Immediately, you could tell that was not true. If you watch this video here, you can see Russell Wilson at the top of the screen and kind of out of the scrum. So that wasn't the case. But what some of the reports was that this fight broke out as a result of a late hit on Justin Fields. That maybe there's a little bit of rallying starting to be had around Justin Fields by the Steelers offense. Again, this isn't something uncommon that we see at NFL training camps. Look, these are unbelievably fierce competitors. A lot of them fighting to make a team. They're not guaranteed a roster spot. They are competing with other players out there for a job, for a paycheck. So I don't think it's all that uncommon or even all that surprising to see a fight breaking out. What is interesting is if these are fights that the reports are true, that it's coming from late hits on Justin Fields and is that offense starting to rally behind him? Keep in mind, Russell Wilson was brought in there to be the starting quarterback, and Justin Fields brought in as someone that the Steelers maybe saw as a bit of a reclamation project and someone they could go to should Russell Wilson struggle. Another thing of note, these are 2 players that play very similar. A lot of folks have compared Justin Fields to when Russell Wilson was in his prime, at least in the style of how he plays. Obviously, Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion, multiple time Super Bowl finalist. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. I know that's how you say it in the NHL. You say a Stanley Cup finalist. He went to the Super Bowl. He's been to the Super Bowl multiple times. He's won one before. Russell Wilson was an elite quarterback in his prime. So the thought was, I don't know, could Russell Wilson maybe take Justin Fields under his wing a little bit and show him the ropes and be part of that reclamation process? Well, Russell Wilson has not been a full participant at training camp yet. He's been there, but he hasn't taken very many first-team reps. He's been dealing with some injury stuff, getting ready to start the season. And so Fields has been taking a lot of those first-team reps and not necessarily looking bad. So I don't know, how much are things changing in Pittsburgh? Are they starting to consider making Justin Fields the week 1 starter? The longer this goes with Russell Wilson not getting as many first-team reps, and especially if the offense really starts to jive behind Justin Fields or in front of Justin Fields, either way, it's going to be interesting. That's why they brought Justin Fields in. If you didn't feel Russell Wilson could do the job, then you go to Justin Fields. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this one. It's very well documented what didn't work for Russell Wilson here in Denver. There was division in the locker room. He was kind of treated with one set of rules, everyone else a different set of rules. And it just led to division, the way that he led, the way that he kind of just conducted business. Again, nothing personal against Russell Wilson. It just wasn't handled well in Denver from the start. And now we're in a situation where, again, if we're going purely based on the reports here, folks, and the reports are that the offense is looking good under Justin Fields. The offensive linemen are starting to really gel and rally around Justin Fields. How is that going to impact things for the Pittsburgh Steelers going forward? We'll have to wait and see. I think we've got one more video here of the fight breaking out. Just Steelers camp that broke out on the same day. Again, these are competitive individuals trying to make a team, trying to earn a job. But man, I don't remember the last time. Again, these are inter-squad scrimmages. So you're scrimmaging Steelers players against Steelers players. We see the NFL do practices and scrimmages in preseason, 2 different teams. The Bears will come into Denver and go to the practice facility, the Broncos, and they'll scrimmage each other. That type of stuff I feel like is pretty normal to see fights break out. 2 in one day at Steelers camp. My goodness. Angry. Well, maybe not angry, just again, competitive. If Jay was trying to take a paycheck from me and I could fight him over it, I don't know, maybe I'd do that. Jay, you got that camera working or no? No, not yet. All right, we're working on getting a camera on Jay. Get the J cam going, but not quite. All right, we're sticking with the NFL here briefly. Want to put a quick bow on it. Former Denver Bronco Mike Purcell lands a new deal with the New England Patriots. Big-time fan favorite here in Denver. Mike Purcell, Colorado native, and just overall good guy. Worked hard, loved being a part of the Denver Broncos. And I think they liked having him here. Again, the fans really rallied behind him, and knowing that this was a Denver native, someone who grew up watching the Broncos, being a fan of the Broncos. It was cool to be able to see him represent Denver for so long. And why was it so cool to see him? This is why right here. This is Mike Purcell at Highlands Ranch High School, where I went. I went to high school with Mike Purcell for 2 years. He was 2 years older than me. But for my freshman and sophomore year, we went and watched Mike Purcell every Friday. Every Friday they were playing at home. I wasn't like a traveling football fan in high school, but went to most of the football games, especially those first couple of years of high school. And Mike Purcell was out there, and you could tell in high school that he was kind of a dominant athlete, kind of a step ahead of everyone else. So it was really cool to see. I believe I had 2 classes in the 2 years that I had with him. They were both elective stuff that, it was all kinds of upper and lower classmen mixed. I'm not going to sit here and act like I was friends with him or that I knew him that well. But he always seemed like a super nice guy, always seemed, to have his head on right. So it was really cool to see a few years later when he was able to ink a deal with the Denver Broncos. And it's awesome to see him continuing his career in the NFL. So big shout out to Highlands Ranch High School alum Mike Purcell. great to see him continuing his NFL career beyond the Broncos, now with the New England Patriots. I think that's all I've got for NFL news for today. Let's move things on over to the NHL and some controversy breaking out amongst NHL media. Jeff Merrick, longtime Sportsnet anchor, and really just, anchor is, it's funny because I'm wanting to use that word again. We're watching the Olympics here, and I was watching swimming yesterday. And they on the relay races, your last leg, that's the anchor. That's the one who brings it home for the team, is your strongest performer for that event. And I used the word anchor a minute ago when I said Sportsnet anchor, but Jeff Merrick was the anchor of Sportsnet's hockey coverage. He was at the forefront for all their national events. He led their most popular daily talk radio show. He was the host of what is possibly the most popular hockey podcast available on the internet right now. It absolutely is, if you're considering it to be an insider podcast and something that is news and opinions and access, and not just, what we do and what a lot of other podcasts do, where, we're talking about what's happening in the world of hockey. Jeff Merrick, like I said, was the anchor of Sportsnet's hockey coverage, incredibly well connected, extremely dialed in to the next wave of players and prospects in major junior hockey, and had a way of delivering the news and his opinions in a way that was, to this day, and in my opinion, one of the best in the industry. He's got some of the best delivery and is one of the most well thought out and well-spoken individuals, I think, in this industry. And we were lucky to be able to hear him talk about the NHL on a daily basis. So why was Jeff Merrick let go by Sportsnet? Why is this individual who I'm talking about, who is so highly regarded in so many different spaces, both in Canadian broadcasting as well as a lot of different hockey circles, why was he let go? Well, let's paint the full picture here. As I just mentioned, Jeff Merrick very dialed into prospects, that next wave of players coming major junior hockey. So that, combined with the fact that Sportsnet had him anchoring a lot of what their national events and national coverage was, Jeff Merrick naturally was at the NHL draft hosting for Sportsnet. Jeff Merrick very dialed into what's happening next. Well, the other thing that I should mention, Sportsnet is a rights holder for the NHL, similar to the way that ESPN, TNT are. Sportsnet in Canada, it's Sportsnet and TSN. TNT, ESPN in the US, TSN and Sportsnet in Canada. That makes sense to everybody. Sportsnet was hosting a show, and what is being reported right now is that Jeff Merrick was getting information from the league in preparation for the broadcast. Moments ahead of each pick, the broadcasts for TSN, Sportsnet, ESPN, TNT, whomever, and it was just ESPN. It wasn't TNT at the draft. They were all getting the information so that they could ready graphics packages for the players that were being drafted next. So moments before second overall was picked, the rights holders would be made aware of who that pick was going to be so they could have everything queued up, ready to go by the time the pick is publicly announced. Well, what is now being reported is that allegedly Jeff Merrick was getting that information in his ear and had a friend who he was texting some of that information to. Oh, it's this team is up next. This is who they're taking. This team's up next. This is who they've got. The NHL and I want to make sure I get the name right, Nevada Gaming Control Board caught wind of this and began to investigate. And the reason they investigated, the potential issue with this was it possible Jeff Merrick was giving someone information that they could then turn around and use to gamble and make money on who the next picks were going to be, which is something that you can gamble on in the first round. Halfway through the first round, Jeff Merrick was pulled off the Sportsnet set with no explanation given. Just a fill-in host was plugged in. In the following days, as rounds 2 through 7 went on, Jeff Merrick was dark, and there was no statement or anything from Sportsnet on why their most popular draft analyst had nothing to say. One of their most popular draft analysts had nothing to say throughout the draft. The draft came and went. Free agency came and went. And as I mentioned earlier, Jeff Merrick hosted one of the most popular hockey podcasts on the internet. Absolutely the number one hockey podcast for access and information. And no new episodes following the draft or free agency. No thoughts from Jeff Merrick on what happened at the draft or free agency. And a lot of people started to catch notice. What is going on here? Well, again, the story finally comes out of what happened and why they pulled him. And now the backlash has been, not necessarily the backlash, but the pushback on this has been, this happens yearly in the NBA. But instead of information being texted to a friend, there's a lot of times that information is put out publicly. Just a couple years ago when the Seattle Kraken joined the NHL, Frank Saravelli of Daily Faceoff was being tipped off minutes before each pick was being announced from each team, and he announced the entire expansion roster before it was announced publicly. In addition to that, the argument that a lot of folks are making is that betting for the next pick closes when the previous pick is made. A lot of people asserting that the information Jeff Merrick was giving to a friend wouldn't have benefited him in any way either way. Couldn't have bet on it no matter what. That pick had closed. A lot of folks are looking at this as no one is saying that what he did wasn't against the rules or not allowed. But what a lot of folks are saying is for someone with Jeff Merrick's credentials and his track record, maybe meeting this with some type of a warning would have been more appropriate. One of the most popular personalities in the hockey media sphere, no longer a part of that space because of something that we see so many other insiders and reporters doing, the difference being where the source of information was coming from. I'm going to be curious to see what happens next and where Jeff Merrick ends up next. I can't imagine he's going to be kept out very long, but I do wonder how this will affect his potential future with being able to get in with rights holders. Because again, that seems to be the issue here. Jeff Merrick was at the NHL draft as a rights holder with Sportsnet, not just your average insider. So we'll see how the NHL and the Nevada Gaming Control Board handle this and if they are investigating any further and what those investigations yield. But as of right now, I'll say it, I'm bummed. This bums me out. I think Jeff Merrick is a titan in the media space right now. I think anybody would be lucky to have him. And I think he can do a lot. I think he's one of the more talented people in our space right now. And I'd love to see him get back into it again, especially based on the details that we have right now, where it, to me, does it sound like he did something against the rules? Yes. Does it sound like he maybe even should have been punished or there should have been some sort of repercussion? Yes. Outright losing his job over something like this, as hard of a stop as they did it, does not quite feel right to me. We're going to keep an eye on this one throughout the summer, see where Jeff Merrick lands. But I do think this is an interesting one to follow because this has the potential to set the precedent for insiders and the way that information is normally disseminated out to be changed and to kind of be questioned going forward of what is allowed and what isn't in terms of, again, an insider providing access and what type of repercussions putting that information out could potentially have. We'll keep an eye on it. Sticking briefly with the NHL, the Utah Hockey Club. We mentioned Utah and Salt Lake. It's been a big couple of months. Well, another big purchase was made yesterday as the Utah Hockey Club acquired 111 anchors as well as the entirety of the shops at Southtown. This will be all converted by 2025 to a new practice and training facility for the Utah Hockey Club. My guess is that there will be some other facilities built as part of this that will lend themselves to the 2034 Winter Olympic Games, which will be in Salt Lake City. But this is another example of the Utah Hockey Club major renovations planned for the game building that they'll be playing in. I believe it's the Delta Center right now, currently constructed for basketball with a lot of obstructed sightlines. So major renovations coming there. And then another major development saying that they are committing by, I believe they said by the end of 2025, to have a state-of-the-art practice facility built and ready to go. They are doing everything they can to turn this franchise in the right direction and be an attractive destination to free agents and potential trade targets that have maybe had Arizona on their no-trade list for a long time. Ryan Smith and the Utah Hockey Club are doing everything they can to flip that narrative. And like I said, 111 acres to build a new state-of-the-art practice and training facility. I'm sure we will see some of that designated for events that could be taking place in 2034. Shifting away from the NHL, but staying in the world that does absolutely impact them, streaming. Venue Sports streaming service was announced just yesterday. It is a collaborative effort between Disney, Fox Sports, and Warner Brothers. $42.99 a month. And here's everything that you're going to get. Live broadcast access to ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC Network, the ACC Network, ESPN News, ABC, Fox, FS1, Fox Sports 1, FS2, BTN, TNT, TBS, and True TV. This is meant to be presented as a live sports streaming bundle, a collaborative effort by multiple different parent companies. Now, you'll notice CBS and NBC are missing from that, which is home. Both those networks are home to a lot of NFL games, not very many NHL games. NBC getting back into the NBA game. But what is interesting about those two networks, CBS, Paramount Plus, who are offering a lot of live television, including live NFL games, trying to push a lot of folks there, and NBC, Peacock. Comcast has long, quietly behind the scenes, been pushing their whole platform to streaming on Peacock. People don't like Comcast, and I get it. They're the evil empire. They deserve a lot of credit. They saw this coming years ago, and they've been a little bit ahead of the game, pushing their cable footprint to a streaming footprint in Peacock. So CBS and Paramount Plus, as well as NBC and Peacock, are not a part of this bundle. But for $42.99, the number one reason people still have cable to this day is live sports. Probably one of the reasons why NBC isn't part of this deal. They have Comcast, and they know that Comcast and Xfinity are still the number one cable provider in the U.S. So people are still getting their live sports from them. But at $42.99, I'm telling you guys right now, for me personally, yeah, I'm probably going to do this. I've been using YouTube TV for the last number of years, but that one's up over $80, sometimes pushing $90 if you want the sports package that includes all these channels. For half that cost, you can get what you want. You can have your streaming bundles and things like that, you know, your Disney Plus and your Peacock and your Netflix, but you can get your live sports TV for $42.99. I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking at this as a potentially steep price for what? What are we getting here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 channels. So you're looking a little bit less than $4 a channel, $3.50 a channel. Again, coming from that world, folks, I think that's a good price. I think that's going to be hard to beat for what all you're getting. NBA, NHL, NFL, you're getting a lot. MLB, and plus you're going to be able to get all the national broadcasts for playoffs, things like that. This is going to be a really interesting case study. We are seeing more and more teams go towards a direct-to-consumer streaming platform and going away from RSNs as the landscape of regional sports broadcasting changes. I think Venue Sports and it being a collaborative effort from multiple big streaming players is huge. With all due respect, to places like Fubo and even YouTube TV, those stuff is expensive because those partners, those outlets have to pay Disney and Warner Brothers and Fox Sports for the rights to broadcast. So they've got to pay for it. Then they have to find a way to make money on it and they pass that on to the consumer, which again is, I'm not saying is a bad thing. That's literally how business works. This is one where you're getting ESPN directly from Disney. This also does include access to ESPN Plus. I should add that as well. So if you don't already have ESPN Plus and you sign up for Venue Sports, you will get access to ESPN Plus and all of the broadcasts that are on there. You're going to be getting these broadcasts directly from the companies that own the rights. That should, in theory, keep the cost down on this product for at least the next several years, down relative to a third-party streaming platform. I think Venue Sports has a chance to shake up this industry in a massive way. I think you're going to start to see a lot more sports networks and teams go the way of streaming, and I think Venue has the opportunity to be at the very forefront of that. And I think this has a chance to have maybe the largest cord-cutting impact that we've seen potentially ever. Netflix and Hulu and all of those, a lot of people from an entertainment standpoint started to get away from cable, but couldn't ever fully commit because of the live sports. This, I think, is going to be a massive blow to the cable industry and the cable cutters, the cord cutters. This might be the biggest step forward for them. Like I said, I will probably be giving you a firsthand review on Venue Sports here very, very soon. I want to round this out with a little bit of Olympics talk. Let's get into it. And our girl, Simone Biles, the GOAT, doing more GOAT shit yesterday as she wins the women's all-around final gold medal, 9 total medals now for Simone Biles. She becomes the first woman to win 2 Olympic gold medals for women's all-around since Vera I even practiced this before I started the show. Kozłowska in 1964 and 1968. It has been a long time since anyone has done what Simone Biles did. My favorite part yesterday, we went back through because I didn't watch it live. We were watching it sporadically here upstairs. We were watching right after she got down on the floor and won the gold medal. But my wife and I went back through last night, and I absolutely loved the vault. She opened with the vault, and here's what was special about it. So Rebecca Andrade from Brazil, Simone Biles said after the Olympics, I never want to compete against her again. She's too good. She's that close. She's right on my heels. And really, there was a lot of conversation in the last couple of days leading up that if it wasn't for Simone Biles, Andrade would probably be running away with these Olympics on the women's side, at least in the individual categories. So Andrade goes up and hits the vault, 15.1. Keep in mind, these scores are out of 16, combining both difficulty and execution. 15.1, a massive score. Big cheer in the crowd. The broadcast reacts appropriately. And they were saying, oh, man, we're going to have to see. Keep in mind, Simone Biles. It was the vault that forced her out of the Olympics in 2020. It's where she got the twisties, the gymnastics equivalent to the yips. So everyone kind of, what's going to happen here? 15.1, oh my gosh. Simone Biles is the next gymnast up. 30 seconds after Andrade hits a 15.1, Simone Biles goes up and hits a 15.766 to make a statement to open the women's all-around final. She then went on. She fell behind after 2 events, went into the floor needing a modest score, about 13.5-ish. She ended up winning the women's all-around by a pretty wide margin, well over a point. It didn't end up being as close as many thought it would. Simone Biles, like I said, showed why she's the GOAT. And it's not disputed. It's not up for discussion. She wears the GOAT necklace because it's obvious. She's the greatest of all time. She's the greatest female gymnast of all time. And she put a stamp on it yesterday in what is likely her final Olympic Games at age 27. I imagine we'll see her in another World Championships, maybe 2. But this is more than likely highly more than likely her last Olympic Games, and she put a stamp on all of it. 9 total medals for Simone Biles now, and a lot of gold, 2 gold in the women's all-around. First one to do it since 1968. Let's round out today with a quick medal count, catch up on where we are at the Olympics in terms of gold medals. People's Republic of China leads the way with 13. The U.S. sat stagnant at 4, then 5 for a couple of days before finally getting a little bit of a rush from them, partially with the help of Simone Biles, to push them up to 9. They sit in second place as far as the gold medal count, but overall, Team USA starting to put some separation between themselves and the rest of the nations in terms of overall medal count. Silver medals are where they've got the most with 17, but they currently sit 11 medals ahead of the next closest nation, which is the host nation, France, followed by People's Republic of China. 13 gold medals for China, Jay. 27 total medals. Almost half of the People's Republic of China's performance has been gold. Not bad. Pretty impressive. Let's give a shout out to the Netherlands. There they are, all the way at the bottom of that list, number 10. Both 10th overall in both total medal count and gold medal count is the Netherlands. Track and field starts, I believe, this weekend, if not early next week. Today, track and field starting today. This is probably where you're going to see it's happening right now. I'm getting a view of the octo box. No, the quad box. The quad box that Jay's going in there. But I imagine starting today, you're going to start to see the U.S. pile up some medals, as track and field is where they really, really excel. That's all I got, folks. That's all we've got for this week. A slight programming change coming next week. You guys have gotten used to seeing me Monday, Wednesday, Fridays on the daily with Liv on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're switching things up a little bit. Liv will now be your Guerilla Sports Daily host on Mondays and Fridays. You'll be seeing me Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Jay is getting out from behind the board. He did such a great job this past week. He will now be hosting every Wednesday. You'll be seeing Jay behind the desk here for Guerilla Sports Daily. So myself, Jesse Montaño, I'll be here Tuesdays, Thursdays. The wonderful Liv Moods will be here Mondays and Fridays, and you'll have Jay running things behind the desk here on Wednesday. So some slight tweaks coming next week, but all good stuff coming. Also keep an eye out. We'll have some tweaks coming to our Abs, Broncos, Nuggets shows. Not necessarily in where you'll find them or what the content will be, but just some slight structural and branding tweaks to them coming at you guys next week. But before that, noon Mountain Time, right here in the Guerilla Sports Studios. Myself and JJ Jerez will be wrapping up the week for you guys on the NHL and Colorado Avalanche front. And then at 2, Nate Jackson and Liv Moods will put a bow on this week of training camp for you guys with the Denver Broncos. Nate Jackson will be coming straight from Dove Valley. Hey, there's JJ Jerez, speaking of ugly people, coming straight from Dove Valley to talk to you guys about the Broncos at 2 p.m. So keep an eye out for all of that. It's going to be a great day. Great Friday here. Beautiful sunny day outside, but that means the AC is cranking. That's why I've got a hoodie on here in the Guerilla Sports Studios. You guys know I'm a big weenie when it comes to the cold. I just looked down and saw that I blew past 30 minutes. We're at 38 minutes here, so I've got to get out of here. Jay's back there running the board. You guys have a great weekend. I'm Jesse Montaño, Guerilla Sports Daily. We'll see you on Monday.